Next slide. All right, and then we have the, next slide. This is weird, we went to this one. Next slide. Okay, so this is what the data center looks like in Van Buren Township. This is the preliminary site plan. John Enos had talked about this process of generating a preliminary site plan and taking it to planning commission. So this is the 287 acre parcel. Just north there is the Ted Scott campus. You've got Haggerty Road on the west there. And you've got the I-94 service drive to the south. And then you've got 275 on the north, okay? And so the way this hyperscale data center campus works is that you've got building 2, which is a 2-story building, which is where most of the compute power is going to be. And then you've got building 3 and building 1, on the north side. They're going to be smaller corporate type data centers. And then you've got an office building. So this Fortune 5 company is going to have their headquarter office in the state of Michigan, right here. They're going to employ about 40 to 50 people in the headquarter office, and then about 40 to 50 people in each of those buildings. There's going to be about 200 employees in total in this campus. And what you're seeing here is that they build it in a park-like setting, and so everything, all the trees are maintained, and then the berm here is 15 feet. And so that was a requirement from Van Buren Township. There's a 15 feet berm, and then there's going to be evergreen trees lining the berm. And so the Haggerty Road subdivision there on the west side, when we held our first public town, we invited all 750 homes out to that meeting. 250 came out. It was great. 250 folks came out to that meeting. And what we did is we had tables. DTE had a table, Airtropolis had a table, Van Buren Township had a table, the state of Michigan, Eagle, which is kind of like the wetland permitting department, had a table. During the second, we invited 750 folks, only 50 came out. And I think the reason why the difference between 250 at that first meeting and 50 is a lot of folks got their questions answered, which was nice. But the folks in the Haggerty Road subdivision won't be able to see a single building because of the 15-foot berm and the evergreen trees. And so that's something that John had talked about when you can write into your ordinance. You can write into your ordinance berm heights. So you can, essentially what they use is they call it burying the box, right? And so what they did in Van Buren Township is they buried the box. No one will ever be able to see this box. Okay? They're going to have wildlife that's going to be able to move through this, and they didn't relocate a single drain. Okay, so the Wayne County Drain Commission wasn't involved, and Eagle was involved for a little bit, but they only affected about 1 to 2 acres of wetlands. But not a single drain was relocated. They built around the drains. Okay, next slide. And this is what it's going to look like from the outside. And so it's a building. It's got a nice facade, some grass, but in the center of it is a server farm that houses all of your kids' pictures, all of the PowerPoint presentations we had today. It's going to help your car drive autonomously down the road. It's going to, credit card transactions are going to run through it. And all the things, all the compute power we need to live in 2026 basically happens in this building. Okay, next slide. All right, so that's me. My contact information is there. And so, I just wanted to explain what your neighbor 10 miles down the street went through over a 2-year process. And essentially, Panatone came out and they bought a 287 acre parcel. They retrofitted it. They looked at the site plan. They wanted to build logistics and distribution. They were approached by a data center, and that's what started the timeline. Van Buren Township, the supervisor is very, very public oriented. Started building townhouses on day 1. Once the data center started to get traction, once they found out the power was available, once they saw that there was a water main that could service the data center with enough water and the sanitary capacity was available. The data center is not going to locate in your community if the power's not there, the water's not there, and the sanitary is not there. All of that was there at this site. And so if you go back to the site plan really quick, I'm sorry, I just don't want to belabor the issue, but I want to show you exactly where the distribution is. So if you can go back to the site plan.
He doesn't know what a site plan is.
Can you go back to the picture of the park and the data center? Thanks. Okay. I'm going to just walk really quick. Right here is the ITC transmission line. 480 kV. They're going to bury the line under the interstate, and that's how they're going to serve it. And so, without having the ITC 48 kV line within 500 feet of this property, this data center would have never landed here. Without having a 36-inch water main, this data center would have never landed here. And without having a closed loop system, so there's two types of systems to cool data centers. There's an open loop system and a closed loop system. This one has both. It has an open loop and a closed loop. But the closed loop allows you to use less water to cool it, because instead of the water coming in and cooling the data center and then going out to the sanitary, they loop it 40 times around it, and then most of that water evaporates. And so your intake is a lot, but your sanitary is like 20% of your intake in a closed loop system. And so we have both systems here. And so the sanitary requirement wasn't as high as the water requirement, and so they were able to meet the sanitary need as well. And so a data center is never going to